Hey everybody, how's it going? Alan here with another weekly rundown, the show where I talk to you about some of the interesting stuff I've been doing or things I've been reading about or seeing over the last week. The first thing I want to talk about this week is the fact that Fortnite is finally released on early access. Now this is a game that sees you and a group of friends building a fort, building yourselves a base and defending against zombie hordes as they attack. From what I understand, there's tons of building weapons, building bases, fighting zombies. It looks like a really fun, colourful, just silly game, and I'm looking forward to checking it out. In 2018, it is going to be free to play, and Epic Games haven't hidden that fact. They've been very forthcoming in the fact that it's going to be a free to play game, from what I've seen. The interesting thing is that it has sold, that's right, it has sold over 500,000 copies so far so that people can get into the early access release right now. That's a huge number for the fact that people know that at the beginning of next year they can get this game for free. This isn't a cheap game to pick up. You know, you're starting at £35 all the way up to, I think it's £120, or the equivalent is like $140, which is a huge amount for people to be investing. And the fact that 500,000 people have already done that is pretty impressive. From what I've seen so far, the review scores have been average, but the feedback I've been seeing from players looks really positive. If you want to know more about the games, head over to Epic Games' website where I'm sure there's tons of information. I might actually pick a copy up this month and do a few playthroughs on that, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. The next thing I want to talk about is another piece of Game of Thrones news. I know last week we covered the fact that Ed Sheeran was deleting his Twitter account because he was crying because people were telling him he was shit. Even though he then reopened his Twitter account like a little bitch, like hours later. Don't close your account and then hours later open it again. It just makes you look like a knobhead. Anyway, the thing I want to talk about isn't any of the big storylines. It's the fact that Grey Worm finally got laid. And everyone went, hasn't he got no dick? Because if you go by the book, they very clearly state Grey Worm's junk was removed root and stem. Now let's cut the crap. That means they took the dick and the balls. There's no other way to interpret that. They have Ken-dolled this guy. He is smooth down there. Now when I watched it, I didn't question it. My assumption was, hey, these two love each other, and this is going to be a kind of all give, no take relationship. That was my assumption, that, you know, that was it. But no, some people need the details. And as they've said, apparently they've never really specified in the show whether or not Grey Worm has a dick and no balls. Well, he's not going to have a balls and no dick, is he? That would be fucking weird. I mean, I imagine just a dick and no balls is quite a strange look. But, yeah, they're saying that they've never really outlined it. Don't be pussies about it. We know the guy's got no junk. Why will you just cut off the balls? Clearly the thing we've been building up to over the last few years is that Grey Worm loves Missandei, Missandei loves Grey Worm, but he's embarrassed about the fact he's got no dick. Like, you can't just suddenly go, oh, I have got a dick, it was just the balls that were missing. What I would have liked to have seen, that bit where Missandei then goes, I want to see you, and pulls down his trousers. I'd like to have just seen his dick go, bong, and it's just like, you told me there was no dick. And he's like, no, I can just not give you children. And she's like, mate, this is moving a little bit fast. This is awkward. I've been trying to get a length off you for like fucking 3 years, mate. I was in Hollyoaks. I am not ready to settle down. Why are we still talking about this? He's getting nothing. Move on. Right. Can't move on, whoop, because the next thing I want to talk about is actually still Game of Thrones related. If you're a big Kickstarter / board game fan like myself, you may already know that there is a Game of Thrones board game currently out on Kickstarter. From what I've seen, it's Lannisters and Starks from the starter set, and they're going to be bringing in more armies later on. I'm surprised actually. When I knew that they were going to be doing this Kickstarter, I was like, this is going to fucking stomp it. This is going to be the Kickstarter that smashes every previous Kickstarter that's come before it for board games. Now, like, there have been some big board game Kickstarters out there. Dark Souls, the board game, did over £1 million in its first 24 hours. So board games have done hugely well on Kickstarter. I say Kickstarter, I mean all crowdfunding platforms. They have really been the resurgence of board games. I'm quite surprised to see that we're now, I think it's now 7 or so days into the campaign, and they're actually sitting and have been sitting for quite a long time at around the $770,000 mark. Now my thought is that that is because the fact that there is additional investment really needed. You can play with what you get, but if you want to have a proper battle, you are going to need to buy additional stuff. Whereas a lot of the games that do well on Kickstarter are a box in a game. No, they're not. They're not a box in a game, Alan. What the fuck are you talking about? They're a game in a box. Anyway, if the idea of a Game of Thrones board game is of interest to you, and I can't believe we're now 7 years into Game of Thrones and this is it really making its appearance, head over to Kickstarter, check it out, maybe put down a pledge, and you'll get a load of stretch goals as well. So, you know, best to grab it now if it interests you than wait till later and you miss all this extra stuff because you're just going to have to pay extra for it. Now, Game of Thrones is done. We're not bringing that one back. We'll probably talk about it next week when someone else says something stupid like about eunuchs and not having dicks and things. Now, the next film I want to talk about is a film that's just been released. It's called The Big Sick, and it stars Kumail Nanjiani. What he's probably best known for is playing Dinesh in Silicon Valley. And if you haven't ever checked out Silicon Valley, definitely go and watch that show. Now, the basic storyline, and I've not seen it yet, so don't worry, everything I'm going to tell you comes from the trailer, is that Kumail is a stand-up comedian in the film who's obviously, you get from the name, comes of Indian descent. He falls in love with a white American girl, and I think and from what I can understand, it deals with the early trials and tribulations of an Indian man dating a white girl and the worries between their families and introducing each other. Where it gets quite interesting, the girl that he's dating, played by Zoe Kazan, after they break up, is struck down by some illness which puts her into a coma. The rest of the film then deals with his relationship with her family and parents and getting to know these people that he was always too nervous to meet beforehand. What I didn't realise was the true story it's based on is actually the relationship between Kumail and his wife. It's the true story about how they met and what happened. I guess that's kind of a spoiler. I mean, it's just been spoiled for me as well because I've realised, hey, the stuff between this girl and the guy must work out because it's the story about him and his wife, unless there's a serious plot twist. It's not the kind of film I would normally be interested in seeing, but Kumail is hilarious in Silicon Valley, so when I saw he was in the trailer, I was like, I've got to check this out. I thought I'd bring this film to your attention because, as I say, it's not something that I didn't normally be interested in, but maybe you guys will enjoy it, and I'm very much looking forward to going and watching it this week. The last thing I really want to talk about today is some new stuff that I'm going to bring into the channel. I'm still going to be doing the weekly rundown, I'm still going to be doing weekly gameplay videos, but every week starting from Wednesday, this week, I'm going to be doing a show called Versus, which stars me and my brother. Now, each week we'll be taking part in one game, and whoever loses the game has to do a forfeit. The following week, they will set the next game, they will also set the forfeit. We filmed the first episode last night, and that was a serious fucking experience. So yeah, every Wednesday starting from this week, you can expect to see the new show Versus on my channel. The other thing I want to talk about is the fact that at the end of September, me and a number of my workmates will be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. It's going to be fucking mental, and I'm relatively convinced at least. There's 27 of us going up there, right? If 4 of us make it to the top, I will be amazed. We're going the hardest route. I think it's only got a success rate of 27% over 7 days. We're doing it in 5 days. If 4 or 5 people make it to the top of that mountain, I'll be amazed. And if there isn't a horrible, horrible injury, I will be shocked. I'm going to be taking a camera along, I'm going to be documenting the journey, make a little documentary out of it and put it up on this channel when I get back. There's going to be cliffhanger moments. There's going to be bits where like one of us is hanging up, trying to hold on. Sylvester Stallone is going to come shimmying along a rope, try to grab us. The hand's going to slip, it's going to be like that. No! And then, I'm going to say me, I'll be hanging, I'll be like, no, Stallone, no! And he'll be like, I'm never going to let you go. And then I'll just slip, go, ah! And if that happens, I won't be able to make the documentary. But if anything less bad than that happens, then I'll make a little documentary about it. If I die, is what I'm saying. If I die, I won't be able to make a documentary. All right, people, that's everything I've got for you this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget, on Wednesday, the very first episode of Versus comes out, where me and Simon take each other on to not have to do a really horrendous forfeit. And trust me, there's vomit involved. I'll go as far as to tell you that much. There is vomit involved. And we're playing Worms. So if you're a Worms fan, make sure you check it out. All right, guys, have a good one. Look after yourselves, and I will see you next week.